Here is your book on Amazon. Congratulations. You can see here it is #1 new release. You've got 4 reviews, and we updated the #1 bestseller tag on here. And if you scroll down here, you can see your #1. You hit the bestseller list in a few categories. So this is one of them, which is kind of cool. So out of all these books that are out right now, you are #1. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Melanie. Thank you for your support. Thank you for really making this a beautiful and an easy uh journey, really. Yeah.
Well, congratulations. And I want to say welcome to all of you who are here as well, watching our show here today. And I want to welcome a very special guest, Keturah Rosato. Thank you so much for being here. We're celebrating your book baby, your book release, and being #1 on the bestseller list. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so very much.
And I just wanted to kind of take a second to talk more about your journey here so that our audience knows a little bit more about what you've been through and what brought you into writing this book. So we like to talk about defining moments on this show. It's kind of the theme, it's our whole company. We love to encourage people who are maybe going through something that there's always a light at the end, there's always purpose in our pain. Is there anything you'd like to share about a defining moment in your own life?
For sure, for sure. One of the underlying stories in the book, it talks about, my journey with my marriage ending and having a major transition and just really having to lean into God and lean into his love in different ways. But I would say, that specific time of my life where, in everybody's life, something ends and you have the prospect of a new beginning, but you don't know necessarily what that's going to look like. I think that would have been my moment. And because there were children involved, there was a career shift, there were so many things. I really did not necessarily know how to navigate the journey. And of course, in that season of my life too, I was in the career space trying to climb the corporate ladder. So there were many things involved. And so I would say being able to find peace in the spaces in between all of our efforts and learning how to do it in a way that just pulled me out of the hustle struggle. I think that would be one of my defining moments, and more specific to the story in Thou Shalt Flourish.
I love that. And I think when people, they go through transition, they don't always realize how it'll serve them later, right? I remember when I went through something similar and I was getting divorced and all this stuff, and I felt like my whole life was falling apart, and it was just like I kept feeling like I'm being buried. It felt like I was being buried. And then God shared with me, no, you're being planted for something else. And
Mm,
that's where we are today, right? And it was so powerful. It's just your perspective. And
yes.
so when you think about all these things that you went through to get here today as a best-selling author and as a coach and as a this beautiful woman who has this great spirit and energy, that wasn't an easy journey for you. And you learned some things along the way and came up with this book and this system to help other people get through their tough times. So tell us more about that process and how you can help other people with this book.
Yes. You know, there's a chapter in the book and it's titled uh when peace is the new prosperity. And I remember not necessarily knowing how to navigate, what to do. You have children, you have deadlines, you have all the different things that pull at you. And the reality is you can't really stop and fix all of the things that are going on. You have to keep going. You have to keep being a mom. You have to, all of the roles and all of the hats that you have to wear. Those things, they don't stop just because life was not happening in the way that I wanted it to. And there were two specific, I would say there are two power tools inside of the book that really, really shifted things for me. And one of them I call the 4A shift, where, just in general, I'll just kind of give a quick summary of it. It's shifting your attention, shifting your awareness, shifting your alignment, and shifting your accountability. And of course, as our readers go into the meat of the book, it explains things a little bit more. But that shifting your attention, I think that's where it started for me, because then I was focused on all the things that were happening to me. I was focused on how people in my life, my community would view me, as a failure, and all of those different things. And it's when I started shifting my attention inward to recognize, well, all right, what's really going on the inside of you? And also, the thing that might have appeared to be the toxic moment in your life, what is it actually informing you about? What is it really telling you that needs to shift, that needs to have a completely different revamping? And so, like, that then began building my awareness on where I might not have been paying attention. Um, that obviously created that. And it's really very intuitive and simple, but then it moves you now into a desire to realign, because then when you recognize, and I'll say, if you really do the homework, if you really look within, if you really take that pause, that pregnant pause, that as some people may call it, then these moments where silence could feel like suffering, then silence is actually the salvation, that comes. And then finally, shifting your accountability. I really had to start identifying the places in my life where I was not being accountable to myself, where I was not being accountable to, whether it's a promise that I made, or a value that I said I had, but my actions did not match, you know? So those four things kind of coming together, they created that 4A shift. And of course, in the book, I take a very biblical approach, because I wanted to speak particularly to women who align with a faith-based way of living and way of doing things. But because of my background in clinical work, it pulls in a lot of the psychology of what's happening on the inside of us, because I also find that that's what's missing sometimes in the faith-based spaces, where we have the prayer, we have the prayer meeting, the vigil and everything, and then people are sitting there like, okay, now what do I actually do? Like what are the steps? Like, what steps do I take? Where do I work on me? And yes, God will bless me, but what are the tools that he's given me here? So that's one of them. And of course, uh the culminating theme in the book is what I call the Flourish Code. And they, of course, as you read the book, it brings you step by step into that final piece where we learn the Flourish Code, so that we can now take it and implement it in our lives and create that perpetual success, which I think we all desire at some level in our lives.
So tell me, who's the book for, and also what's the name of your book?
Yes. So the name of the book is Thou Shalt Flourish. I originally intended to kind of take a Moses approach to it and bring it, like a modernized Moses. So that's where the Thou Shalt came. But then just looking at where we are in life, especially for my audience, you asked me who's the book for. I wrote it primarily for women. But the truth is, there's so much psychology in there. There's so much life skills in there that anybody who desires to thrive the way that God intended for us to do it, in a way that pulls us away from hustle, but at the same time honors um, integrity, and honors what is the word I'm looking for? Ambition, but doing it in such a way that we're not just driven and led by our ambitions, but also tuning into some of the things that God already put inside of us, to give us keys as to how we can just do this intuitively. Um a lot of the women that I work with, they're, high achieving women in the professional space. They're doing all the things, they're wearing all the hats, and they're successful. But sometimes, in the journey of getting, it could feel a little bit lackluster. And so just identifying places within us inwardly where fulfillment is a little bit softer, a little bit gentler, and a quieter voice on the inside of us, that we have to sometimes just pause and listen to. So anybody who feels like they're getting, they're achieving, but not feeling that fulfillment, I believe Thou Shalt Flourish has something for them that will really, really help them maximize those areas of their lives.
Well, I love it. I think there's so many people that need this. And what do you think? What happens to people if they don't use these tools, if they don't figure this out?
Hmm, hmm,
You
hmm.
know, I mean, if they're feeling stuck and they're suffering and they're trying to get through something, they're trying to do everything on their own. They've tried maybe therapy, they've tried all these things and nothing seems to be working. What would you say to the people that are stuck?
Yeah. You know, we hear about burnout. We hear about adrenal dysfunctions that people are living with. And these are high achieving people who they go to the doctor, there's nothing wrong. They run all the tests and everything comes back all right, but there's something that just is missing, and they cannot explain why they're sick or why they're ill. And so I would say for many people who find themselves not utilizing these skill sets or not taking the time to work on the areas that we're discussing inside of Thou Shalt Flourish, it creates a type of burnout that's not just the physical burnout or the adrenal fatigue that you rest and recover from, but it's almost like a burning away of your soul that happens to a person who doesn't take the time to do this. Um, and I think that's what leaves a lot of us feeling like there's just that emptiness. And so we want to live a life that breathes. Chapter 9, I believe, is that's the title, building a life that breathes. And I think that speaks for itself. The person that doesn't do that, they find themselves being choked out by life
Mm.
to a great extent. Um, and then you're not living a life of fulfillment, or not walking in, the destiny or the calling, or just the thing that is the essence that you were called to be living in your life experience and making that find expression here in the world. So, yeah.
I'm a writer for Forbes, and I did an article back in December about how over 80% of people never find their purpose in life. They don't find meaning in their work or purpose in what they do. And that broke my heart. And I know that we're on a mission to help people find their purpose or redefine it and then show people how to monetize it through books and speaking and all that kind of stuff. But I found that to be so alarming. And I think that's the first step, is helping people find that awareness of what makes them happy, because so many of us, we do things to make everybody else happy, and we feel like self-love means we're selfish, especially as women. And so I think that this book is so profound in the fact that first of all, I love the title because it should be a commandment. Thou shalt flourish. God wants you to flourish. And
Yes.
if you're a Christian and you're a believer, then if you're going to heaven, then you should be happy. You should be having a joyful, amazing life. And so I think that it's great because some people get stuck, and I always say it's like a hammer, right? Like if somebody never knew what a hammer could do, and you put a hammer in their hands and you teach them how to use it, it's a whole new world. And then they start
Hmm.
opening up to other tools, and before long, they could build their own house if they wanted to. So it's the same
Yeah.
thing in personal development. When you can help someone lose weight, you can help someone repair their relationship, you can help someone with their finances. But there's one thing you can do that changes all of those things, and that's your personal development. And that when you focus on that relationship with yourself, that and you repair that, that is what changes your relationship with everything in the world, with other people, with
Yeah.
money, with food, all the things that feel like they may be holding people back. So you got some amazing tools in this book. So, Keturah, tell me, what do you think holds people back?
I think one of the things that hold people back is really the programming that we receive sometimes sometimes as children, sometimes by people who actually care about us, by people who love us, who just had a life experience that then impressed upon them a belief, and now they take that belief and they pass it on, and that belief then becomes a tradition and nobody questions it, and there's so much science to back that too, um but when we're able to release the expectations, when we were able to just be just free ourselves from a lot of these expectations, then we're free to make mistakes, we're free to try new things, we're free to even rebuild from the ashes, what may seem like ashes in our lives. And I think when we're able to be, just completely be, fully be, then we give ourselves permission to flourish, We give ourselves permission to let what might look like failure then build us up. We give ourselves permission to grow. I don't go deep into it, but I talk a lot about gravitropic and phototropic growth, where sometimes when we're growing our roots, that's really when we abandon the ship, we abandon the process because we don't yet know. Again and again, I think it's also programming. We don't have the visuals, and so we try another thing, and then we leave the thing that was actually building our foundation to go start another foundation, and we're just going, and so we never give ourselves time. And so I
Mm.
think in our culture, that's one of the things that um you know we can definitely help one another to really get grounded in, which is recognizing that what may have been failure for one person, although we can learn from one another, we still have to give ourselves time to grow. We still have to give ourselves time to just fail forward, you know, and be okay
Yeah.
with it.
I often
Yeah.
say there is no failure, there's just feedback.
Yeah.
Because if everything is a growth experience, everything.
Yeah.
And so if you learn, if you grow from it, then it wasn't failure. And it's hard to when you're in it to feel not feel that way. And sometimes the miracle is in the setback. It's setting you up for something else. I know Tony Robbins says it like this. He says that things are happening for you, not to you. And I love that. So your book is out. Congratulations. If you guys are watching this live today, it is a special price of 99 cents. So grab it while you can. You can even click the little link up there where it says buy for others on Amazon. In the US, you can actually do this and you can actually buy a book, an ebook, and send it to somebody. My favorite thing as a gift to give somebody is a book. I know I'm a book nerd, but it's like it's the gift of hope. We got enough dope dealers out there. We need some more hope dealers. Amen. So here's
Yes,
the point.
yes.
You have a chance to not only get to learn more about Keturah, get to know her and her tools, but you have a chance to help somebody else that's stuck for 99 cents. So take advantage, get as many copies as you want today. And if you're watching this after the launch date, then it probably won't be that price anymore. It's still going to be only a few bucks, so you want to grab that while you can. And the print book is also coming out soon, which is awesome. So I can't wait for you guys to be able to read this book and get your hands on it. I love digital books because you can literally, if you're having this issue and you're stuck, you can download it immediately. And within the next hour, you have your resolution. You've got tools. It's like giving somebody a hammer. It's like imagine the caveman the first time they found the hammer, and they're like, "Oh, this is great." And so people try to solve things on their own without the proper tools, or they're doing things in the wrong sequence. And that's why I think everybody needs a coach. Everybody needs somebody to help guide them along the way, especially if you've already got the answers. So, is there anything else that you want to share with the readers or the authors or the viewers, like anything that they should do next? What would you recommend?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't mention it, but while you were talking about tools and hammers, I thought, oh, maybe I should let them know. So one of the things that I did, as some of them may already know or maybe not, I'm a therapist. I'm a clinical therapist. So I decided to do something a little bit special for our readers. I included a workbook. There is a QR code on the front of the book for them to download, but I feel like each chapter, like, so the workbook is a companion for the book itself, but each chapter, it's really like a therapy session. I tried not to just repeat what was in the book and focus more on pulling out of them after they've read each chapter. So go buy the book and get started because it's really, really an exciting journey. It truly, truly is.
I
Yeah.
love that. That's amazing. So that's an incredible gift that you get as a free gift, as a bonus gift when you buy the book. So go grab your copy. I can't even believe it's only 99 cents today. So again, we're celebrating you and your launch and your beautiful new book, baby. And this is kind of fun. It's like a baby shower. That's what we're doing here today. So tell us more about I guess really more like as they go through this journey, as they go through this process. I mean, the beauty is imagine if you could take, if you're reading a book and you can have the author take your hand and walk you through the steps and teach you personally how to use the tools. So you
Yes.
do coaching and things, right? You do
Yes.
coaching or can you work with people? I know as a clinical therapist, sometimes people think they have to be there in person to go, but can you do sessions with people on Zoom? How does that work?
Yes, actually, I guess the board, they've been really working on making some shifts so that that could be possible. I primarily work as a coach with people because I like the in-person component for therapy, but we've been working around many hybrid ways to work with families, to work with individuals, and also through workshops as well. So because of the workshop approach, it allows me to take a lot of the therapeutic tools and to put it in there in a therapy session. I'm sorry, in a coaching session. So then it feels like, whoa. This was a coaching session on steroids because then we're working on the motivational aspects and the aspirational aspects, but also the transpersonal, psychological, and inner healing points as well. So that is my passion. And I would definitely love to be able to especially after people read, then what comes up for them, they tend to want to have somebody to talk about this stuff with and
Mhm.
identify, well, what are some next steps for me, what are some directions that I should be taking. And so that's one of the things that I'm 100% available for after we read. And I try to put the information in there so that it feels like they're taking bite-sized pieces, because sometimes overwhelm causes people to step back and say, whoa, 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 I can't do this. And I want them to keep moving forward and to also see the progress as they go. But then now towards the end, take that bold pursuit with the next step. And I would love to be part of their next step. 100%. Yeah.
That's amazing. So how can people get in touch with you? What should they do next?
They can, either reach out to me via email. My email is hello@keturahrosato.com. They can either go to the website and just, which is also keturahrosato.com, which will guide them on whether they want to just sample me or they want to jump right in to the water with me and let's swim out into the ocean. And I'm also available on social media at the same handle. The three that I use are Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and it's Keturah Rosato. Just my full name, one word. You can find me at any of these platforms.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. I really appreciate it. And I just want to say too, if any of you find that you want to write a book and you're in that process, like I want to write a book, it's in me, I'm trying to do this, then I encourage you to also click on our website at mydefiningmoments.com. You can fill out an application, you can book a call, you can come to one of our live trainings. We just want to help you get this book out of you, right? And so you can click that link below as well if you want more information on the book side, or being a speaker and all that fun stuff. And I would love to help you get your book baby into the world, just like we are here with Keturah. I know this has been a journey for you, so congratulations, girl. I'm just so proud of you. And I know this was an incredible feat and a labor of love. Is there any advice you want to give to somebody who's thinking about writing a book or kind of on the fence about it, like thinking, "Oh, someday I'll write a book." What advice would you give to that person?
Oh my. The advice I would give to them, number one, is don't wait. And number two, call Melanie because truly, because I'll tell you, for me, I have spent so much time in my head. And sometimes Melanie will give you the tough love that you need, but it's love. It's love, you know? And love is not just babying. And I'll tell you, everything that Defining Moments does, it's so intuitive. Even if you feel like, I'm all over the place, it's very intuitive, and like every question that you have in your head is answered, and even the questions that you didn't know to ask, you will have them answered. So just don't wait and call Melanie. That's it.
Oh, thank you so much for that. I love that. And it's true because, I did another article for Forbes recently about, and it was based on a New York Times article that said 88% of people want to write a book, but only 1% actually do. And we work with that 1%, but we're trying to change those percentages because there's just so much knowledge. And if you have gone through something in your life and you can help somebody, to me, I think there's a human like expectation that you can help somebody else out of their hole. And if you have been given this beautiful opportunity to learn things and get skills and tools, why not teach other people? And you don't have to be this guru on the mountain with beautiful hair and a sports car to do it. You don't have to be Miss America to help someone lose 20 pounds. It's just if you have found something in your life, just like Katura has, where you have this incredible degree as a clinical therapist and you've learned all these things, you've worked really hard to get those credentials, and then also being a coach and navigating all of those things and being able to do online and the compliance, like you don't even have to, you know, be an expert to be able to share your knowledge with people. And that's what I'm saying. I just want to encourage people to get that out of them because the world is waiting. And if you just keep it inside your head, that knowledge doesn't serve people. It just remains knowledge. And this way, you can make impact and income with the world. So I know your book is going to do great. You've already hit number one on the bestseller list. So congratulations. And
Yeah,
yay! Oh,
yay,
look at that. The little number. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I remember I was in Target when I found out I hit number one and I started screaming and I was checking out and the lady was like looking at me like, "Are you having a seizure?" I'm like, "No, my book just hit number one on the bestseller list." And everybody was like, "Woo!"
do we have time? Yeah. Do we have time for me to tell you my story of how I found out?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So I was just showing it to a friend of mine, just saying, hey, it's on Amazon. We're launching and everything. And then I just said, oh my goodness, you know what's gonna be so exciting? When it says bestseller. And then she goes, but what's the little gold sticker? And that's really how I found out. And we're both like screaming, oh my God. It was just the craziest thing. So it was like your Target experience. I had it in my car.
Isn't that funny? And it's like, and some people they've had this on their bucket list for 20, 30 years. I think the longest was my dad. He is 89 years old. Today is his birthday. Isn't that so cool? And I was just like, I mean, he has been wanting to write a book since he was 10 years old. So it's been over 70 years. And we ended up writing a couple of books with him, and he has released them. He's been a Sunday school teacher for over 62 years, and his books generate several $1,000s a month, and he donates 100% of that back to his church. I love that. The church he's been going to since he was two. So it's like, it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, if you went to Yale or you went to jail. Like it's like everybody has a story to share that could inspire somebody else. So don't keep it inside of you. That's what I'm excited to share with people. So thank you so much. Bless you for everything you do. I know that God is definitely in this book, and I know that it's going to inspire so many people. So thank you, Katura, for all you've done. And
Thank you. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
absolutely. Congratulations. And you guys, we thank you all for being here, for watching, for supporting Keturah. Don't forget to leave an honest review if you love the book and if you want to give her feedback. This is a great way. And then, click the links below to connect with her, take advantage of that workbook thing, the pricing today. And we will see you all on the next show. Thank you so much, everyone. Congrats. All right. Bye-bye.